D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We are live inside Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators will host the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5 The Game. Predators GM Barry Trotz will join us at 5 p.m. for his weekly chat. But gentlemen, will you humor me for a moment?
Go ahead.
I've been practicing this in the mirror. Similarly to Liam Cohen when he said Duval. Ready for this? Hallelujah! The Tennessee Titans have a new head coach. It is Robert Saleh, the former head coach of the New York Jets, the soon-to-be now former, I suppose, defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers. Last I checked, this has not been made official by the Tennessee Titans, but it was reported late last night that the Tennessee Titans are agreeing to terms with Robert Saleh. It's been reported as a 5-year contract. Robert Saleh back as a head coach after 3+ seasons with the Jets, a 20-36 record as head coach of the New York Jets. We will take your reaction all show long. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I am also expecting many of you to apologize for everything you've said over the past couple of weeks. Oh, this interview process, it's a sham, and Mike Borgonzi's just going to hire his buddy Matt Nagy. I want to hear from you, too.
I would love to actually hear from some of those people. I want some like, hey, sorry, I got carried away. I want to hear from you.
Yes.
I want to hear from you.
A little contrition can go a long way.
Well, I mean, just say how you feel, even if you're not contrite. You know me, I'm still not apologizing for Miami.
Yeah, he's not going to apologize.
I'm not apologizing.
Congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers,
what
by
a
the
story.
way. Yes.
Unbelievable story. You tell me at any point in your life that you thought Indiana would win a national championship.
In football.
Okay, I'm going to be the fly in the ointment. Are we just in the moment? Because I watched ESPN and I watched everything else, and I'm just listening to different, podcasts, and it's like the world has invented like football in Indiana. Like, this is the greatest story since Pop Warner. Like, what? But people don't understand. This is what's going to happen now
in college football.
in
It's
NIL.
happening in college sports.
Exactly.
Yes.
And this is not like Indiana didn't go to the playoffs last year.
Right.
Indiana went to the playoffs last year. Had they won last year, okay, it would have been this great. But this team in Cignetti have proven that they were a championship caliber team, at least in the playoffs.
If you
but it's not like the greatest story since Disney World opened. That's how people are framing
Indiana
it.
And Vanderbilt would be better than they were last year, you had more optimism.
I didn't think they would win the championship. I'm sorry. I am sorry. We're hijacking.
Save it.
But
it's
okay, we'll save it. Yeah,
we will get to the CFP National Championship game at some point. But Willie, let's start with you. Your initial general reaction to the Tennessee Titans hiring Robert Saleh as their next head coach.
If you remember, weeks ago, and I'll even wind it back to when they first fired Brian Callahan, and we did a profile of what we would want to see from the next head coach. I think Robert Saleh fills in most of the characteristics that we laid out that day. And then a few weeks ago, I do remember thinking that Saleh, and I said this on the air, I thought that Saleh would be a really attractive candidate, maybe the best. This was before Harbaugh and those guys jumped in, who became available. McDermott, I still don't know where that's going, et cetera. So there were some curveballs thrown with some of the candidates who were out there. But going back to late December, as the season was winding down, I did identify Saleh as a guy that I thought would be a great candidate. The twist for me was how it went down. That was their first interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was also there's really no connection prior between Saleh and anybody in the organization that I can tell. Definitely not Borgonzi. And Tehran's sentence or two that he wrote in his column about Borgonzi seemed to be moving towards Nagy. The top level of the organization seemed to sway him to
Mhm.
Saleh. I do have questions about that. But Saleh as a candidate, what do I know? To me, he is a guy that I think can do the job here.
Derek, before you give your take on the hiring of Robert Saleh, I do want to reference what Willie was just referring to regarding our friend Teron Davenport. So Teron wrote a story for ESPN.com once he nailed it down that the Titans were hiring Robert Saleh. And there was a section of his story that made the rounds on social media last night that has since been removed from his story and updated with different language. So here is the segment of Teron's story that has since been changed. Quote, Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi had leaned toward Nagy given their time together in Kansas City. However, encouragement from team ownership pushed the decision to Saleh, according to a source. That has since been updated to this. Quote, the Titans brass originally scheduled a virtual interview with Saleh on Sunday, but it elected to expedite the process by having him come to Nashville for an in-person meeting Monday after hosting Nagy, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator, earlier in the day. Saleh's visit wowed Borgonzi and the group enough to sway the decision in his favor. The decision was ultimately Borgonzi's, but the group collectively felt Saleh was the best candidate, end quote. And look, I can understand. I've had to cover coach hirings and coach firings before. A lot of information is flying at you fast. But that portion of Teron's original story, that Borgonzi had leaned toward Nagy given their time together in Kansas City. However, encouragement from team ownership pushed the decision to Saleh, according to a source, still lives on the internet. And it's going to be hard, Derek, for Titans fans to remove that image from their minds as they evaluate this hire.
Why? They didn't want Nagy anyway. The Titans fans, majority of them that called here or texted in, thought that this Nagy, to Tennessee was just going to be a disaster because,
But doesn't it look like it undermines Borgonzi, that Borgonzi was leaning toward Nagy and ownership apparently nudged him in the other direction, even if that doesn't turn out to be true? Again, it lives on the internet now. I think it's less about not hiring Nagy and more how it makes Borgonzi look that he may have had one decision and ownership said, no, you're going to do this instead.
I mean, listen, ultimately ownership can do what ownership does. It's their business, especially when it comes from the person that owns the team. Whether it be Nagy or now Saleh, she was going to have to sign off on it either way. And maybe she just thought it's almost like, when you break up with your partner that you've been with for a long time, for whatever reason, and you may not be quite over that person. You go out and the next person you get, ironically, looks just like them in some form, some way, or mannerism just like them. That's what this scene, once she got in front of, or whoever got in front of Saleh, I think that perspective of a leader, it sort of oozed out of him. And I think they were more attracted with that than anything else, meaning what ultimately swayed the decision, even if there was a decision, because we don't know if there was a decision to hire Nagy or not. They had been going through this process. We had been, sort of kind of complaining about maybe they're interviewing too many people. Well, if you're interviewing a lot of people, that means you hadn't made up your decision yet. Now you get a chance to finally get a chance to interview Saleh. He comes in, Nagy, him, relationship with him. But Saleh comes in and he fits that prototype that you're looking for, that you had success with last time. But he may be different in ways that you like. But as far as the show of strength and leadership, he has it in spades, just like Mike Vrabel did.
Willie, I would describe Robert Saleh as Mike Vrabel adjacent, or Mike Vrabel adjace for short. I don't know exactly how they compare, but they exude the same toughness, leader of men type
Right. They have a presence. They
Yes.
have a physical presence.
Presence
Yes.
is a good word.
Right. And
Presence is a good word.
so it's not just that, they have they're big, strong, like they command a room. I think Saleh, remember they had a Hard Knocks, right?
Yeah.
So you got to see Saleh day to day. I thought he had a good presentation. This is just me from afar.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to care about how it went down if it goes well.
Mm-hmm.
But I was struck by the line in Tehran's article only because, and Adam, you can speak to this as a journalist, that was not Tehran giving his opinion or
No.
that was a source of some sort that he put in there. And he felt compelled to change it. I don't know why. We'd have to ask Tehran why he felt like he needed to change that. And he doesn't owe us an explanation. It's his to do. But I felt like that was a significant line. And I just don't know if Borgonzi, and look, he said he's part of the committee. He's heading the committee. He had the final say. I think he can still say that at the press conference when they announce him and be rid of this, because what's done is done. But I do wonder about if he really felt like it was the guy he wanted. But that being said, Saleh appears to have a good beeline, according to Albert Breer, on a number of different offensive coordinators, which is now going to become the focus, right? Who's going to run the offense? That is everything now.
My thing is, okay, why would and not Tehran, because Tehran is just ultimately reporting what someone's telling them, what his sources telling them.
It could have been somebody from Nagy's camp telling
it could have been anybody. Yeah. Why would knowing, especially if it was somebody within the organization, why would you put that out there knowing your fan base don't like that? Like knowing that is the one thing that your fan base has been screaming about the last 3 or 4 years. Amy's perceived to be meddling. So who decided that, okay, I'm gonna tell Tehran this? Because what you're doing is you're fueling the fire of a base that already is really, really skeptical of the owner. So why would you put that out there? And then
You're
maybe
saying if it's a Titan source. But
Yeah,
what if it's a Nagy source?
You're right.
But if that's the truth, and
But
Tehran
why would
thinks
I?
it's credible,
But why would I
put it in there?
Why would I then retract it? If it
Because
because
the
it's-
Titans
if-
probably went to
because
maybe,
if
I'm
somebody
just
in the
speculating.
building
I don't
said
know.
it, if somebody in the building said this, why would I then? And listen, I'm not in TD's shoes, but I'm just asking a question. Why would then, if it was somebody within the building, unless you were trying to keep that relationship open, why would I then retract it? I could see if it was a Nagy, like somebody from Nagy's camp, and he was like, "Okay, I got to retract this."
Right.
Maybe it didn't.
And
But
the Titans convinced Tehran, hey, look, where
Exactly.
you got that, I don't know what they're talking about. I promise you this is how it went
Exactly.
down. We don't know. And the process was the process.
Mhm.
There could be a little bit of truth in both
Yeah.
interpretations of just Tehran's article. But like I said, nobody will care in a couple of years if this goes well.
Right. And look, I can lecture y'all on how the sausage is made when it comes to reporting
Yes.
these types of stories,
Yes.
but I don't want to bore you with the details.
But you've been in those shoes.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
People would
Exactly.
be interested in knowing how that could happen, right? You put out one story one night and then you make a subtle but significant change in something that people looked at and immediately said, wow, did Borgonzi really want to hire Nagy? I mean, that's because it's been a story for weeks,
But
right?
that's a rift. That's already causing a rift in the building, even before the coach gets a chance to sit at his desk.
And Willie, you're absolutely
So I can
right.
see why the Titans would come
Yes.
like a cavalry in there going, wait a minute. That's not how it went
You're
down.
absolutely right, Willie, when you say that if this hire works out, none of this,
Nobody will remember.
is going to matter. But unfortunately, these things live on the internet. Amy Adams Strunk's approval rating is in the gutter. And when you see something like this, even if it's just 2 sentences in a 1,000-word story, that's going to get out there and it's going to fuel the ire, I guess you could say, that a lot of Titans fans have towards Amy Adams Strunk. And to use the term I used before, make it look like Mike Borgonzi was undermined or what have you. Let's get your reaction.
Maybe
6157.
the owner. It is Amy's team.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And according to Albert Breer, she was involved. He has some details of
which we will share.
And it really looks like she had an immediate connection with him. She is the owner. So that is her prerogative to be able to do that.
Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Let's start with Scott. Scott, thank you for waiting patiently. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. You know, Amy this, Amy that. I mean, her record is not too good. And, you know, this new coach that they've hired, 20-36, I mean, we've got a brand new stadium. We've got $100 million in salary cap, and we hire a unproven coach. His last team, the Jets, was 20-36. It was a disaster, and now they brought him to the Titans with every good thing that's going with the new quarterback. Why would you not wait? I mean, why didn't they interview the Buffalo coach? I mean, he's got a proven record, but why are we, or what if? Well, if it turns out good, it'll be okay and all that. That's what they said about Callahan. He said the right things in the meeting, and he got hired. So, you know, it's just disappointing.
Thank you for the call, Scott. We will get to the Sean McDermott thing in just a minute.
No, it's not even about Sean McDermott.
Okay. Well, anyway, as the caller just mentioned, Robert Saleh, 20 wins, 36 losses as head coach of the New York Jets between 2021 and 2024. That's a .357 winning percentage, which ranks as the worst in Jets franchise history among coaches with a minimum of 40 games at the helm. Now, according to ESPN. The coach Saleh replaced on the top of that list, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles had a .375 winning percentage with the New York Jets. Over 4 seasons, currently, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles is 35-33. His teams have made the playoffs in 3 of 4 seasons. He's won 3 division titles. Yes, I know it's the NFC South, but the division titles still count nonetheless. So I understand the caller's point. Saleh has a terrible record. I don't know enough about Robert Saleh's tenure with the Jets to give you an educated opinion on what went wrong and what went right. We will have people on the show this week who actually did cover Robert Saleh during his time with the Jets, and they can tell us. But
I'll tell you, that franchise is dysfunctional.
I was about to say,
franchise. I can tell you it's dysfunctional. It's not,
well,
and it's gotten
worse. My point is, I am willing to entertain the idea that the New York Jets are the New York Jets.
Yeah.
And Robert Saleh's record is reflective of the New York Jets.
Well, let's take it a step further.
I don't know that to be sure, but I'm just putting it out there.
Let's say what we know. We know that the quarterback situation in particular was horrible.
Should I read them?
Well, you can.
It's a diary list.
It's not even just the list. It's how it went down.
Yeah.
They drafted Zach Wilson, who we know now, right? It's one thing to say, well, they didn't develop Zach Wilson. But we know now today, Zach Wilson is not an NFL quarterback. He is not a backup quarterback. Will be lucky to be in the league however long. I don't know if he's ever going to be a starter unless the light goes on, he would be even more of a recovery project than a Daniel Jones or a Sam Darnold even, right? Darnold did better than Zach Wilson. He was terrible. They tried to replace him with Aaron Rodgers, and he got hurt in the first series of the first deal. So they were playing basically with third string. Then they had to put Zach Wilson back in, and he failed again, and they had to go to third string guys off the street options. Also, remember, in that division at the time, you had the Dolphins with Tua cooking at their highest level for a little bit in there. You had the tail end of the Tom Brady and Patriots, and even the beginning of the Mac Jones, which was a good Patriots team, not a bad Patriots team. And you had the Bills in their prime. That was a tough division. And yet, they had some teams in there that I thought were pretty competitive. They had a good defense, which is Saleh's deal. So I think you have to put it in the context. You can't just look at it and say 20-36, he's a bad coach.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction to the Titans hiring Robert Saleh to replace Brian Callahan as their next head coach. 615-737-1025. Your reaction all show long. Also, we do have a pair of Predators tickets to give away, which we will do this hour. You can see the Predators take on Ottawa at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday. So be listening this hour for your cue to call to win a pair of tickets to see the Predators versus the Ottawa Senators Thursday night at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
that about Cam Ward's game and scouting him? Have you seen improvement throughout the year of what he's been able to do?
For sure, he's improved significantly throughout the year. He's, earlier in the year, obviously his numbers weren't great, but I think his numbers have improved week in and week out. Uber talented, can make every throw. They do a really nice job. It's they've been in a lot of football games and they've kind of let it slip away there in the fourth quarter. But overall, I think offensively they've been moving in the right direction. They do a lot of really good things. And the quarterback, just speaking of him, he's got a lot to him.
That was then 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh talking about Cam Ward before these two teams met late in the regular season. Now, Robert Saleh coaches Cam Ward.
He knew he was going to be a candidate.
He knew it then?
Exactly.
He was stumping for the job right
then? They
then?
had already fired Callahan, so they were looking for a coach. He knew his name was going to come up.
Well, we are going to spend a lot of time over the next weeks probably talking about the best choice for Titans offensive coordinator with Robert Saleh becoming the head coach. Here is some information regarding that from Connor Orr, Sports Illustrated. Quote, if McDaniel, meaning Mike McDaniel, isn't going to Tennessee with Robert Saleh, that could leave Matt Nagy and another possible option, former Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Brady is interviewing for head coaching jobs. He is in Arizona on Tuesday and has a second call back with Baltimore, but would also be perfect with the developing Cam Ward. I've heard a lot of Titans fans clamoring for Clay Kubiak, the brother of Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, but it's important to keep in mind that Clay is already an offensive coordinator and thus is blockable by Kyle Shanahan. Brian Daboll, Cliff Kingsbury, and Arthur Smith are other possibilities in Tennessee, end quote. So keep that in mind. We will talk about offensive coordinators. Let's go back to your phone, 615-737-1025. Welcome in our friend Adam from Portland. Adam, thank you for waiting. Go ahead.
I don't know why people hate this hire so much. I like it. I think back to Brian Callahan at the beginning of the season, giving that weird yell stepbrother speech that you guys play. And I'm like, Saleh would never. And I get the dude before going, oh, here was his record. Who wins with the Jets, dude? Nobody. And the only thing that I don't like about Robert Saleh is when Aaron Rodgers ran off the field and he was trying to give him a high five after he did something good. Aaron shoved him. I wanted Saleh to punch him in the face. And the fact that he didn't do that, I don't like him because he didn't punch him in the face. But if that's the case, we probably wouldn't have him as a candidate. So, no, we got to get behind this guy, man. He is an alpha. We needed somebody with a backbone, and I think they did a great hire. I like it.
Thank you, Adam. Let's get some of your reaction on our text line as well. Mike in Lebanon does not agree with Adam, says this is a grade C hire for a grade C organization. It may work out great, but it's not really exciting. Here's something I saw today that was funny to me. So as I was doing some research on YouTube to find clips for the show today, the algorithm put in front of me a Arizona Cardinals podcast, radio show. I don't know. But they were reacting. The hosts were reacting to Robert Saleh taking the Titans job right before he was supposed to go to Arizona to interview for the Cardinals job. And the title of the YouTube video was something like, are the Cardinals the most miserable franchise in the NFL? So Titans fans, you're not the only ones who think that way about your organization. Let's go back to your texts. To that point, Damien in Nashville said, Saleh had an interview with the Cardinals the next day. So why would Mike Borgonzi risk losing out on Saleh to interview the Bills coach who may not want the job when Borgonzi has been left at the altar twice already?
I see that point, and I do think that might have been something they pondered when they were done talking with Saleh, especially right on the heels of what appeared to be a good connection, a good interview. I'm sure they were sitting there going, do we still want to dive into the McDermott and risk not getting McDermott and not getting Saleh when we think we've got a good match here with Saleh? I can see that logic.
I think they wanted, especially after Harbaugh signed his deal, I think they wanted in their mind to get the next best available coach that fit their vision. And once Saleh came in, they were just blown away. And listen, it happens that way sometimes. You don't have to have met a person, 20 million times for them to walk in and truly just change your perspective on things. It can happen in just one conversation. I've seen it. I've been part of it. So he probably went in there and understood the mission and delivered on it, being himself. And they loved what they saw in him. They probably look at the Jet situation and said that situation wasn't conducive for anybody to thrive in. And it may not be conducive for the next coach that takes the job. So they didn't hold that against him. They looked at this man. He came in there. He gave a good speech. He gave a good spiel. He gave his vision of the team. I'm sure it matched up to what they were looking for. And they didn't want him to leave the building.
And I think more
And that's
importantly,
okay.
Saleh was willing to take it right
Yeah.
then. He wasn't like, well, let me get back to you after I go to Arizona. He's like, no, you want me? I want it. I'll
I think
take
because
it.
he
That
played
should
this
mean
team.
something.
I
right?
think because he played this team. And I think what he said about Cam is true. That's how he feels about Cam Ward. And that Cam Ward is getting better. Because they threw a lot of stuff
If he
at him.
didn't, then I would be on to Arizona.
Exactly.
I'd be
Absolutely.
heading to Arizona for the interview. I would have said, thanks, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Dave in Big Rock says, the dysfunction in this franchise is unbelievable. 1, we hired a guy for the job who just failed at the same job. 2, we had the chance to hire someone who had been successful at the same job. Full stop. If only it were that simple. Dave in Big Rock.
So is he comparing Nagy? Is he saying Nagy? Or
No,
is
he is saying that Robert Saleh.
No, I know Saleh, but is he saying Sean McDermott? Because if he's saying Nagy really Nagy fell off too.
Sean McDermott theoretically
Yes.
is available.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he can be hired. Who knows if he's interested in the Titans, but he's out there. Mike McCarthy, other coaches with winning records, with winning pedigrees were available. Again, just because.
Other than those two, am I missing somebody?
Yeah.
McCarthy and McDermott, I
And who else?
understand.
But
because
here's the
those
thing.
guys have credentials that others don't. Other than those two, are there any others that we're missing that the texter is referring to? Like, if he's just assuming,
Harbaugh,
they should have. Harbaugh's gone. He's not
Harbaugh
on. He's
took the
not in
job.
the
He
market.
left.
He's not on the market. Like we're talking about yesterday.
Mm.
Remember, this is a changing.
Yes, you're
it
right.
evolves every day.
You're right.
So other than those two, and McCarthy, I still think has got pretty heavy ties to the Steelers. I think you're reading between the lines. I'd be surprised if it's not him to the Steelers.
I'm not sure.
And then you had to decide: do we really have a shot at McDermott? What was their
Okay,
real shot?
my thing with this, with the McDermott thing, we look at, and you want to point out Saleh and his tenure with the Jets, and it was bad. They didn't have a quarterback. We can say the same thing about Sean McDermott, and he had a quarterback, and he couldn't get to where they wanted him to go. And he was this savant in defense, but his defense struggled. I would always, and I've said this for years, I would look at the Buffalo Bills, and I would wonder, like, why do they have the best defense? Because I'm looking at them, and Derrick Henry's running through them. Somebody else is running through them. Teams are moving the ball down the field on them, at will. But they show up in the red zone. But he was known as his savant, and his defense is the part that let him down a lot of times. He had success. But when you take a team that was ready, that is in a prime position to win, and you couldn't win, shouldn't I look at him the same way I look at Saleh in a sense? Like, yeah, you're a good coach, but you had a top 5 quarterback, and you couldn't win with the top 5 quarterback, meaning you couldn't get into the Super Bowl with the top 5 quarterback. That's ultimately why they fired John Harbaugh.
Gunner says, if Harbaugh and McDermott didn't get fired, everyone would love this. It's easy to want the new shiny thing. Saleh can change the culture. Newsflash, Harbaugh and McDermott got fired with MVP quarterbacks.
And that's and as much as I love John Harbaugh, that's essentially why they let him go. Because you have an elite quarterback, you have an elite running back, you have a damn good receiver, you have an elite tight end, 2 of them, and you have a defense that's pretty good, and you never could get to a point where you can get over that hump. That's why he's gone, and that's why Sean McDermott's gone.
Let's go to Dustin in Hopkinsville on our phone line. Dustin, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, guys. To start off, like, when I say all this, just know I do like Robert Saleh, and I kind of do like the hire, but with all the high-profile guys that are out there that can – there was a couple guarantees that would get us back to winning, And Harbaugh, we couldn't get him in the building. That just shows how bad we are and how bad we're run. We didn't even call McDermott, and then there was McCarthy. Like, he's your bargain. McCarthy, I feel like we could have got him. He was your bargain guy. And you're saying, it's more the Jets' fault that Robert Saleh didn't win because they're a terrible organization. We're a terrible organization. So, two things can be right. We still don't know if Robert Saleh is a good coach. He's going to show us. I got his back. I do like his demeanor and punch you in the mouth. We're going to have a good defense. I am excited, but the only thing I think we should have went ahead and got guaranteed winning football with McCarthy. And the fact that we didn't go after McDermott, as far as I know, I've been in a top secret building the last few days. I haven't looked at my phone, but we didn't even call the man, did we?
Well, we don't know.
Yeah,
thank
we
you for the
don't
call,
know.
Dustin.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know.
I'd be stunned if there wasn't any call at all.
Yeah,
I'd
I'm
be
sure there
surprised.
may have been.
Remember, he only got fired yesterday morning.
Exactly.
Lance from
They made the
Clark.
hire last night, so the call had to come in during the
Very
day
quick,
while they were
yeah.
interviewing Saleh and interviewing Nagy. So it was a busy day, but I would imagine there was contact just to feel it out.
Lance from Clarksville says, and then we will use this as a teaser to get to the other side. Lance from Clarksville says, this was 100% an Amy hire. Borgonzi wouldn't have hired someone he never worked with. He was close with Nagy. Amy's still doing the meddling Titans fans hate. We will react to that. We will also share some reporting, some national reporting, a little behind the scenes on what happened yesterday with Robert Saleh's interview with the Titans. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Preds fans, Smashville Live is back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on 1025 The Game, live from Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue. Meet your Predators players up close and personal. You can also get autographs and pictures. The guests tomorrow, Cole Smith and Michael McCarron. That's Cole Smith and Michael McCarron tomorrow night at Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue and only on 1025 The Game.
All right, let's tell you about F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. 2026 is here. You may be in a place where you love where you're going financially. But if you, like me, over the course of your life, your career, you've never enjoyed that part of it, and you're looking for what's a simpler way to do business when it comes to finances, that's where F&M Bank has really helped a lot of people. They want to take the burden off of you. They want to create that contact in each branch that throughout Middle Tennessee. Just go to myfmbank.com. You'll see that website, and you'll find the nearest location. We take it to the bank every Friday at 5:45, thanks to our friends at F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
I think this is as much about what the Titans were looking for in their next coach as much as anything else. Titans ownership, Titans fans, and the new Titans front office really set out to find somebody that could fill the void that was left by Mike Vrabel when he was fired a couple of years ago. They wanted somebody who could bring energy, somebody who could bring presence, somebody who could build a culture. And I think that's how Robert Saleh winds up winning this job over Matt Nagy, with Jeff Hafley not having come in. All three of those guys, I think, give you something in that area. But that's an area where Robert Saleh is an A+. Of course, part of the deal here, he's going to have to find the right offensive coach, and he has connections. He's very close with Mike McDaniel. He'll have competition for McDaniel services. McDaniel is still in the Browns coaching search. He is going to set to have a second interview in Cleveland tomorrow with the Browns. He's in the running for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator job, if not the favorite for that job. And so there's competition for Mike McDaniel, but that would be one place Robert Saleh could potentially look for a offensive coordinator.
That was Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated detailing the Titans hiring of Robert Saleh. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. David James is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Predators fans, be listening at the end of this segment for your cue to call to win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Ottawa Senators here at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday. So be listening at the end of this segment for your cue to call. Speaking of Albert Breer, guys, he had a detailed story about Robert Saleh's hiring. I want to share some of that with all of you. Quote, the Titans got a good feel for him through the months of research that followed Brian Callahan's firing. They went down the conventional path of talking to those closest to him in the coaching industry. Packers coach Matt LaFleur, one of Saleh's best friends and his boss for a couple of months at the end of the 2023 season, was particularly helpful. They also showed some creativity, dispatching veteran players like Jeffrey Simmons to ask other players about specific candidates. 49ers and Jets players spoke highly of Saleh. Then there was the interview. Saleh first spent 3 hours with the Titans football leadership, a group made of GM Mike Borgonzi, President of Football Operations Chad Brinker, and top lieutenants Dave Ziegler, Dan Sagany, and Reggie McKenzie. They went through Saleh's detailed plan for Cam Ward, in which Saleh demonstrated a real command of what Ward would need, including staffing on the offensive side with experienced candidates and a second phase plan should a coordinator leave, end quote. So Albert Breer with some details, Willie, on Saleh's interview process with the Titans.
Albert Breer is a very good reporter and I think has very good sources to be able to do numerous articles like that. Just the number that he's done on the Titans is impressive, and he does that with a lot of different teams. So I think he has good sources. He's been in the league for a long time. I don't doubt any of that stuff. The only thing that I think is a gap in here is there was no prior relationship between Saleh and anybody on that committee that I can see, unless I'm missing something about one of the other names on there, like McKenzie. But I don't see it. I haven't put. Saleh's been more places than you realize. Just like a lot of the coaches, you know where he started, D Mace?
Where was that?
His first college coaching job. Michigan State.
I was about to figure. I was about to say Michigan State.
Michigan State.
I think this is.
He was at Georgia for a year. He was at, he's been a lot of places. Houston, the Texans, the Seattle Seahawks, the Jaguars.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is his third stint in the AFC South, if I am not mistaken.
He was even listed as an offensive consultant for the Packers last year after he got fired by the Jets. He was hired by the Packers, and somehow he's on the offense. He was a tight end in college, so he's not all defense all the time. But I just find it interesting that in the one meeting, they hit it off so well that they said, this is a match. Both sides, right? Neither side had to say, well, let's sleep on it. Let's see how we feel tomorrow, which I wouldn't have blamed either side for doing that. But it was like, hey, we like this. Let's go. It was like speed dating, right? I'm sure they did a ton of research on each other prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
But in one meeting, boom, that's it.
The question I have, Derek, is, and I would have to do this research. Maybe I will for a later show this week. How rare is a head coach being hired by an organization with no apparent ties. Like, for example, we all know that Mike Vrabel has ties to the New England Patriots. It made total and complete sense that Mike Vrabel became the head coach of the New England Patriots. Off the top of my head, and I apologize if I'm sounding ignorant to some of you out there, I don't know what Ben Johnson's ties were to the Chicago Bears or Liam Cohen's ties to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I don't know how rare this is. I agree, Willie. A lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. But is it that rare? I mean, that's a legitimate question. I don't know the answer to it. I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it, but I'm wondering how rare it actually is.
Well, I mean, listen, these circles aren't big. They're small, intimate circles because it's always the same people getting hired over and over again. And eventually, they filter out in another cycle of coaches and GMs start to come through. But whatever small the thread is, the Titans pulled it. The thread was, Matt LaFleur being a good friend of his. She interviewed Matt LaFleur for the job. So she understands. So if they go to Matt LaFleur, that's like, okay, that's vouching for. I guarantee if Matt LaFleur had said something negative, that wouldn't have looked too good for Saleh. But that small string that they pulled caused them to then say, well, let's, solicit, Jeffrey and Cam and let them go ask some players about Saleh. Because we didn't already pull the string. We like what we hear. Because I'm sure LaFleur, description of Saleh was a detailed description. And I'm sure that phone call went on for a very long time with Matt LaFleur, whoever had it. But then you start to hear your leader or both of them come back and say, well, mainly Jeff, like, hey, the guys speak highly of Saleh. So now we're pulling more strings. So I don't have to have met you personally to, think once I meet you, okay, this is my guy, because everything that I've heard from people that I respect, that's how it is. Like, we don't meet some people, but we hear about certain people. And then when we finally meet them, we have a perception of them, good or bad. And if it turns out to be true either way, then okay. But it seems like whatever they got from Matt LaFleur, whatever they got from Jeffrey and him asking players, that was good enough for them until they had the actual interview with him. And once they had the interview with him, everything that everybody said about him was true times, because now we heard about his vision and what he's going to do if indeed the offensive coordinator, has a great season and he's off to another team. Oh, he already has a backup. This is a man with a plan. Maybe he wasn't able to orchestrate that plan in New York, and he is here. He gets more leeway to do it his way here. Whereas, did he get that in New York? We don't think he got that in New York. I don't think anybody has gotten it in New York over the last 10 years.
I mean, Woody Johnson, when the NFLPA put out its report cards, he was the only owner who received a big fat F.
Yeah,
so whatever that's worth.
So whatever string that they pulled on, they thought it was good enough. And then once they finally set him down in front of them, once they finally got Saleh in front of them, everything that was said matched up with everything that he was telling us, and even more.
Let's go to our friend Mark in Nashville, who has been waiting patiently. Mark, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Adam, D-Mace, Willie?
We're good, Mark.
Hey, Mark. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, yeah, when you finally meet me, D-Mace, good or bad, you're going to feel good about it. Remember that, okay?
As good as Miss Sugar Free. Big Sugar Free.
Yeah, I show some respect, Adam. But look here.
Put some respect on it, man.
Put some respect on it. But hey, I think that's a pretty good hire for the Titans. I mean, we're going to see here in about 2 years. Teammates, I worry about what the leash is going to look like. Is Amy Adams Strunk going to give this guy enough time to build this program back, build a continuity back to respect, to get them where they need to get to? That's the only thing I worry about with the Titans. Are they really going to give him a real shot at making this happen? Now, if he can go out here and pull Mike McDaniel, it'll really look good for him. Even though Mike McDaniel, if he does have a good year with Cam, say he does come here, he'd probably be gone after next year anyway. But still, that's good. If he can go get LaFleur's brother with the Rams, who's the OC, it'll be good for Cam. But I think overall it's a good hire. I'm just waiting to see what my Raiders do. I mean, I know we're gonna get Mendoza, but I'm waiting to see what they do. Hoping they get Flores or somebody. But hey, Willie, while I got you on here, you listening, Willie?
I am. Always, Mark.
All right, I want you to hear this. That was a fantastic pickup the Mets made getting Bouchette. I like that, Willie.
Okay.
I like Bouchette.
I'm glad you
player.
improved, Mark, because a lot of times you
Yeah.
like to point out the negative of the Mets. I've just noticed that.
No, I'm going good with him.
Okay.
Now, sell him $100 million to Juan Soto. Now I can't agree with that, Willie, but 126 to Bouchette. Now that's pretty good.
A lot of
But hey,
corn.
y'all have a good day, man. We'll see y'all later.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Adam.
Mark.
Yes, Mark.
Hey, Adam.
Yes, Mark.
Me and Sugar Freak getting ready to cook a big old pot of chili and stuff, man. So
It's getting cold
we gonna sit
outside.
down
Good
and eat.
choice.
Unless
Unless that's a
Good-
euphemism
good
for
chili.
something I'm unaware of.
Oh, okay then. Well, hey, man, y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Oh man.
6-1. Go ahead.
You keep them going with that sugar free. You
I
do it
know,
on purpose.
but it's funny.
You do it on
It's
purpose.
funny. We love Mark. 615-737-1025, man. All right. We'll continue to take your reaction, including this from one texter. Piss poor hire, going from the hope of Harbaugh to the sloppy seconds of Saleh. Good alliteration. Is disappointing. We'll continue to take your reaction, whether it's like that or more positive. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. All right, Predators fans, if you want a pair of tickets to see your Predators take on the Ottawa Senators Thursday night right here at Bridgestone Arena, be caller number 4. Caller number 4, 615-737-1025. You will win a pair of tickets to see the Predators host the Senators at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday night. Again, caller number 4, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Okay, Loan Pronto ready to tell you that low mortgage rates are still going. They are back after a few years were a little high. So Loan Pronto has fixed rate mortgages with APRs as low as 4.89%. That's the lowest in years. So if you're stuck in a 6% loan, you could drop your payment big time with a refinance. So that you've got to call right away because that's going to save you lots of money every month. And when you refi through Loan Pronto, you're going to skip your next house payment or two. So get on that as well. 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com for the free instant home appraisal. No hard credit pull. You can get this done in a streamlined fashion, and you'll be off to a new deal in no time. Also, you can keep your first mortgage, and if you need some cash to pay off some bills, like a high-interest credit card bill or a car payment that is getting big on you, go ahead and call right now because they've got the rapid equity loan program as well, Loan Pronto, and you can end up saving thousands of dollars a month through that. So all you got to do is call that number, 615-499-5780, or visit loanpronto.com and find out how much money you can save. It's Loan Pronto, equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, APR for well-qualified buyers, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Live inside Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the Buffalo Sabres tonight at 7, pregame at 6. Right here on 102.5 The Game. Barry Trotz will join us here in 1 hour. Trevor Maddich will join us in roughly 20 minutes as we continue to break down the Tennessee Titans hiring of Robert Saleh as their next head coach. We will take your reaction all show long. 615-737-1025. Wes in Hermitage says, I'm actually not a huge fan of this hire. However, if Saleh can convince Jawan Jennings from the Niners and Breece Hall from the Jets to come be Titans, then I will change my tune almost immediately. Good luck. And
Are
look,
those guys free agents?
No. Hall definitely is. I don't know about Jawan Jennings.
I think Jennings is. I feel like I've been reading a lot about his contract dispute. The Niners don't have a lot of extra money. He could be out there. There was a lot of rumors about a trade before, so I don't know if he's unrestricted.
Okay,
but he may be available in some form. Some of it will be up to Borgonzi, of course, and then who does he hire on the staff? That's a question.
Eli says it might be easy to get Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator because he could double dip from his Dolphins head coaching release and not be penalized with the salary of being an offensive coordinator. I don't know how all of that works. Mike McDaniel is going to be a hot commodity. He has interviewed for multiple head coach and offensive coordinator positions. I dusted off. I don't know how I found this. I must be really good at Googling. I dusted off. Well, not really because it wasn't a hard copy, but I'll pretend I dusted it off. The 2006 Houston Texans media guide. And on the coaching staff, a young defensive assistant named Robert Saleh and a young offensive assistant named Mike McDaniel. They go all the way back to the 2006 Houston Texans, and they've crossed paths many other times since then. So I know that Mike McDaniel is the most popular choice to be offensive coordinator, Willie. I'm just not sure how realistic that is considering his other options.
The 2006 Texans, for the record, 6-10. 4th out of 4. Gary Kubiak. That was the end of the David Carr era. Can you believe that? He was still going at 2006? Wow. So it was pre-Matt Schaub. Just a little historic thing. I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. But, I wouldn't tie myself to one guy. I think it's who fits. If you can if that's your top choice and you can get him, fine. But how does it align with Cam Ward's skill set? That's the much more important question.
Connor Hughes, who reports on the New York Jets for SNY, he covered Robert Saleh when he was the head coach of the New York Jets. He had this post earlier, quote, Robert had 2 major issues with the Jets, quarterback and offensive coordinator. Never had the 2 of them together at the same time. Mike LaFleur with Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers with Nate Hackett. Ward has a lot of potential. Mike McDaniel with him could be very big. And we will talk about this more in depth, I'm sure. Zach Wilson and how he did not develop under Robert Saleh's watch. And I don't know everything that happened in New York. We talked about the same thing with Matt Nagy, right? When we talked so much about Matt Nagy. And who knows if we'll ever talk about Matt Nagy again. What if Matt Nagy becomes the Titans offensive coordinator? I guess we'll start talking about Matt Nagy again. And maybe all of the people who were upset about Matt Nagy may be slightly less upset. Who knows? But we talked about.
I still am waiting for the first person that says,
yes,
I thought they were going to hire Nagy.
Yes.
I admit it.
Nobody on our text line, 615-737-1025, has apologized for.
We know you're out there.
We know you're out there. Gino, we used your example yesterday. There are others out there. Nevertheless, we talked about this with Nagy, right? Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky. Those were his quarterbacks in Chicago. And we've seen how their careers have gone. Neither of them have really made anything of themselves in the NFL. The same can be said about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is the 3rd string quarterback, last I checked, of the Miami Dolphins. When the Miami Dolphins, under Mike McDaniel, benched Tua Tagovailoa at the end of the season, they didn't go with Zach Wilson. They went with Quinn Ewers. So Zach Wilson, even after the starting quarterback in Miami got benched, didn't get a shot to play for the Miami Dolphins. So we will dive more into this. But Derek, again, it's sort of the same thing with the Jets record. How much of Zach Wilson's struggles do I put on Robert Saleh? I'm not going to absolve him of all blame, but
what would he really have to do with? It's not like he didn't give him a chance to play. Like, it's not like he yanked him in and out of the lineup. I don't think that, like, there was a lot of pressure that I recall. In New York, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of take the quarterback out, etc. I don't know what you would do differently. I would hold it against him if Zach Wilson went somewhere else and started doing a lot better.
Yes.
That hasn't happened at all. So I just think he got a tough draw. They thought he was the guy, and he wasn't.
Zach Wilson.
That could happen to Cam Ward, and he could be down the same thing. But I think Cam Ward is already this is what I would think if I'm Saleh. Cam Ward has already, I think, looked better than Zach Wilson ever looked. Am I wrong in that?
Zach Wilson in 3 seasons.
No, you're not wrong.
Zach Wilson in 3 seasons with the New York Jets started 33 games, had a record of 12-21. He appeared in 34, but started 33. Had a record of 12-21. Completed 57% of his passes. Had a rating of 73.2. And since leaving the Jets, he did not play at all in 2024. I think he was in Denver.
I think so, too.
And then last season in Miami, he appeared in 4 games, attempted 11 passes.
And remember, on the Jets, they were competitive. They had a winning defense.
Very good
They
defense.
had Breece Hall running the ball.
Yes, and
they
Garrett
had Garrett
Wilson.
Wilson. That's how ineffective Zach Wilson was, because it looked like they had everything but the quarterback. That's why they got Rodgers. So I think that was the huge thing with the Saleh era, is they looked like they had a lot of good things going, and the quarterback was holding them back.
Well, they never had one because when Aaron Rodgers got there, he got hurt immediately. So they never truly had a quarterback that they could rely on. And, listen, I can see if Zach Wilson, showed some development, some progress, but he didn't. So that's a Zach Wilson problem. No matter how good you are as a coach, if a guy doesn't have it, he just doesn't have it. And you can't make him have it. And Zach Wilson is one of those guys that, just don't have it regardless of what coach you put in front of him. So I'm not sure you can, how much of that you hold against Saleh, or you can say, listen, Saleh and the brass decided to bring Nathaniel Hackett in here, knowing good and well Nathaniel Hackett wasn't good for Zach Wilson, because Aaron Rodgers is only temporary, 2 years at best, and they got him, but he was injured 1.
And then they brought in all the Favre
exactly.
guys.
Then you
Not
brought
just
in
Hackett,
all
they brought all
exactly.
those receivers.
So you
in,
brought
they
in these guys, and this is where I say, you can't realistically hold what happened in New York to Saleh, because he was forced to hire people not because of the quarterback that they drafted, but the quarterback that they brought in. That coordinator wasn't good for the quarterback they brought in. He definitely wasn't good for the development of Zach Wilson if he was going to develop. So again, that's a organizational problem.
Yeah.
He get paid by Woody Johnson. Ultimately, he has to do what Willie Johnson says. And Woody put that team together, that coaching staff together, outside of Saleh.
And they were
it never
winning the
worked.
offseason. They were hyped up as a Super Bowl contender when they pulled off the Rodgers move. So it did appear that ultimately, I think, reflected poorly on Saleh, because it didn't go well, but it was obvious why. Rodgers got hurt in the first game. But so you never really even knew what you were going to get there. But also, I think having gone through that, it can't hurt to have gone through that with a young quarterback, the Wilson part of it, and be able to say, okay, what did I like about? Did I do things right? How do I do it differently now with Ward? I'm sure that was intriguing for the Titans people to know that he's gone through that before.
Well, fortunately for us, just in a few minutes, Zach Wilson, a member of the BYU Cougars, will ask another member of the BYU Cougars, Trevor Maddich, for his opinion on this. He'll know that for sure. I do want to go back to this story from Albert Breer on how Robert Saleh won the Titans coaching job on Sports Illustrated. Here's the section about Amy Adams Strunk. Quote, the ownership group, led by Strunk, sat in for the quarterback planning piece of the 3-hour session, then brought Saleh to the cafeteria for dinner and the second part of the interview. That lasted for another hour and a half, where Strunk got to see Saleh's energy and presence for herself. And that left Borgonzi and Brinker to meet privately with Strunk, where Borgonzi made his recommendation that Saleh was the guy, feeling that there was no more reason to wait, as the team's exhaustive research matched what they had witnessed the previous 5 hours. Saleh was offered the job, he accepted it, and then the group called Simmons and Ward over FaceTime to deliver the news. End quote.
So does that sort of contradict a little bit of what was said, that it was Amy's decision? But now it seems like in Breer's, it was Borgonzi's like, okay, this is the guy I want. After talking with him, this is the guy I want. So two conflicting stories here.
It's true.
It is true.
So when did the Breer story came out? After?
Yes.
After Tehran's story, yes.
And the
Tehran's was
update
last night.
The update to Tehran Davenport's story on ESPN.com does match what Breer just said right there.
Exactly.
Again, to read the updated version of Tehran's story, the Titans brass originally scheduled a virtual interview with Saleh on Sunday, but it elected to expedite the process by having him come to Nashville for an in-person meeting Monday after hosting Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, earlier in the day. Saleh's visit wowed Borgonzi and the group enough to sway the decision in his favor. The decision was ultimately Borgonzi's, but the group collectively felt Saleh was the best candidate. End quote.
I think these questions will be further asked when Borgonzi faces the media. And my guess is he'll be ready to attack those questions. But I think we'll always just
wonder.
Just
I think people will wonder whether this was a strong arm move once again by the owner, in a sense, or was this truly Borgonzi's deal? Where
because I'm sure it's a very sensitive subject in the building.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of what happened with Rand Carthon, where it was widely reported that Mike Vrabel was really not on board with Rand Carthon, that it was coming from above, where they said, let's go this direction. And then Mike Vrabel clearly did not mix very well with Rand Carthon. So I think that is in the back of people's minds when this goes down.
Joey from Bellevue on our text line says, Bobby Slowick would be my first choice as offensive coordinator. Stroud had an amazing rookie year under him. Look at his regression after they let him go. McDaniel wouldn't be an option. He is more likely going to get 1 year and will get a head coaching job sooner than later. Slowick and Saleh would have overlapped in San Francisco the first time, I think. So there is history there between Saleh and Slowick. And Slowick was fired by the Texans. And the way that C.J. Stroud has been playing, maybe it appears Slowick was a bit of a scapegoat. So, Joey, that is another name you can throw on the pile. Matthew from Jolton says, Zach Wilson would look like Zach Wilson with Andy Reid.
Well, and that's what I was trying to say.
And I think that is, like I think we were talking about Nagy. And they were saying, well, he wasn't able to develop Mitch Trubisky. But Mitch Trubisky has proven to be over a decade,
Mitch Trubisky,
a backup quarterback.
That's all he is.
He wasn't destined to be a star. It doesn't matter where you were picked after a certain amount of time.
No.
The high pick is going to get his chance, but it doesn't mean, as many fail or more fail than make it. So it's still yet to be told about Cam Ward, but I think Cam Ward is on a track to where he can be not a complete disaster. I think he's got a chance to be good. I don't know if he's got a chance to be great, but if you can put a good team around him, I think you could be successful. And on the San Francisco thing, I think it says a lot about Robert Saleh that the minute they could get him back to run their defense, they brought him back.
Yes.
Right? I think they thought that highly of him. That's a big feather in his hat.
Now, Bobby Slowick is the senior passing game coordinator with Miami. So do you think Miami, did he just get that job, or was that he was a hire by McDaniel, and he may keep the job or he may not.
This
Considering
was his first season.
okay.
He was fired by the Texans
Yep.
as offensive coordinator after 2 seasons, and then went to Miami in 2025 to be the senior pass game coordinator.
And where was Saleh and Slowick together?
If I'm not mistaken, they would have overlapped in San Francisco initially before Saleh became the head coach of the New York Jets, because Slowick was in San Francisco between 2017 and 2021. And Saleh became head coach of the Jets in 2021.
Yep. So for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes. So they would have overlapped.
Oh, no, actually 4 years.
Yes.
Slowick was there. Slowick was actually defensive quality control coach before he became an offensive assistant.
One
for San
texter
Fran.
says Saleh has all these ties to offensive guys, and we'll sit here and watch him bring in Dr. Phil as OC or something stupid. We'll find out. 615-737-1025. Trevor Maddich will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the hiring of Robert Saleh. I think he would be the perfect person to ask about Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, because Wilson and Trevor are both alums of BYU. So I think Trevor may know a thing or two about Zach Wilson. We'll get his thoughts coming up next. 615-737-1025. Tonight, Vanderbilt men's basketball takes on Arkansas with an 8 p.m. tip-off, and the pregame show starts at 7:30 on 94.9 The Fan.
If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your motorcycle accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers for your free case evaluation. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible or nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve, and they don't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired or better yet replaced. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. Also, don't forget to go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win a custom Nashville Predators Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers and Music City Indian. Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Trevor Maddich, who is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. So, Trevor, of course, we're talking about the Titans hiring of Robert Saleh, and I think you would be the perfect person to answer this question. A big part of Robert Saleh's job, the biggest part of his job, is to help develop Cam Ward. He's got to hire the offensive coordinator, of course, but he's going to be judged a lot by what happens with Cam Ward under his watch. Robert Saleh has already coached a young quarterback who was drafted highly, Zach Wilson. You two share an alma mater, BYU. So you would be, I think, the right person to answer this question. How much, if at all, should people pin Zach Wilson's struggles, specifically in New York, on Robert Saleh, his coaching staff, his development plan, et cetera, because a lot of people are going to make the connection between what happened with Wilson in New York and Robert Saleh now with Cam Ward?
Yeah, I don't think that you can really hang that on Robert Saleh. He's a defensive-minded coach. He had a couple of, with Wilson, he had a good offensive coordinator in Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's brother, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And the thing about Wilson is that he didn't really play very much at BYU. In his first couple of years there, he was injured a lot. Finally, in 2020, the COVID year, his final year at BYU, he had a breakout season. But because it was COVID, all the Power Four teams on the schedule canceled the games, and they only played within their own conferences. That left BYU to play some FCS schools, group of five schools, stuff like that, with lesser defenses. And Wilson had a fantastic season that year, and he had a great pro day. He threw some really nice balls. The problem is that if you've only got one full year as a starter and it's not against the best competition, scouts can't really know what your makeup is like from an emotional standpoint. And so he got to the Jets and had all the physical tools, but mentally he would just lock up. You know, he would just freak out, basically. He'd drop back and he'd not trust what he sees, and he wouldn't just let it go and throw it. And just all kinds of things led to the team not believing in him, and that led to the whole cascade of awful for Zach Wilson. And I don't think that is the head coach's problem, because the head coach is primarily a defensive guy. It was the offensive staff that was primarily in charge of developing this guy. And ultimately, you're going to have a quarterback with confidence if you put him in a position where he can be successful to the degree that the team believes in him, and that's how you build confidence. And a defensive-minded coach isn't going to be the primary driver of that. I think you have a different situation with Cam Ward, because Cam Ward is a guy that played a lot. I mean, from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami, played a lot of football under a lot of difficult circumstances, and you had a real good feel for what his emotional makeup was as a quarterback beyond just what he could do physically with his arm. And so, you know, I think it's going to be the same kind of a situation where the quarterback position is going to define his success, because we know he's a good defensive coach. But I think he's got a better quarterback situation to start with the Titans than he did with the Jets. He's got to get the right offensive coordinator.
Now, Trevor, in your opinion, why do you think? Because it was sort of being said that Nagy was the guy, that ultimately Nagy would get the job because he had a good relationship with Boganzi. But ultimately, you know, Saleh comes in and win the job. Why do you, in your opinion, why do you think they went with Saleh as opposed to going with Nagy, the guy that Boganzi knows?
I hope, Derek, that it's because they feel that Saleh is the better choice. Mm-hmm. I hope they didn't just go away from Nagy because that was a Chiefs connection for GM Mike Boganzi, and the fan base, I think, was not particularly thrilled about the possibility of Nagy coming in. And I hope that's not why the Titans made their choice of head coach. I mean, Nagy, from an offensive standpoint, makes a whole lot of sense. He's a long-time, disciple of Andy Reid, going back to the Philadelphia Eagles and now in Kansas City. He knows how to hybridize college schemes with NFL schemes to get the best out of young quarterbacks that did one thing in college that now need to be able to maximize what they did well that got them into the NFL while still leading them into NFL schemes as time goes on. He's got the ability to do that. There's nobody better than that than Andy Reid. And so I thought he would have been, I would have been fine with that choice. Also because when your head coach is the offensive guy who sets the offensive scheme, basically, then when an offensive coordinator takes a new job, Cam Ward doesn't have a new system and a new scheme to worry about. The new offensive coordinator will come in and run the scheme of the head coach. In this case, it would have been Matt Nagy. And so you've got the danger in having a defensive head coach now with Robert Saleh hiring a fantastic offensive coordinator who gets hired away in a year or two to be a head coach. And so what kind of changes will happen then? I mean, that's up in the air. But I think the reason that's overt that they went with Saleh is because Saleh basically is Vrabel from a leadership standpoint. We talk a lot about what a good defensive coach he is or what a good offensive coach Matt Nagy is, right? Well, when you become head coach, you don't get to just focus in on being a coordinator anymore. And unless you're Andy Reid, you're going to have to hire someone else and give them a lot of the responsibilities that got you your head coaching position, for goodness sake. And so the first quality of a head coach needs to be leadership. The whole organization needs to be pulling the wagon in his direction, and that's it. And they need to know who the boss is. The boss is the head coach. And if you don't make him happy, you are gone. There is no such thing as, well, gee, the GM likes me or the owner no. You need the head coach to be the alpha. And you're not an alpha because you show up in a locker room and announce yourself so. You're an alpha because that's who you are. And grown men, some of the greatest athletes in the world, look at you and naturally respect that you are the alpha. And Robert Saleh is that kind of personality, much like Mike Vrabel was.
We talked with Trevor Maddich, ESPN, NFL, and college analyst. Now, Trevor, where do you think they go as far as offensive coordinator? Because to me, is Nagy still an option? Hence why they asked that it's come out that Saleh has a plan just in case his offensive coordinator leaves the next following year. Do you think Nagy is still a candidate for an offensive coordinator job here?
Well, Nagy still knows what it tastes like to be a head coach, and so maybe he might be off for that. But really, any super successful coordinator will be that way. They could bring him in because he still has the association familiarity with Mike Morganzi, and there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, really, the home run hire here, you guys I'm sure have talked about, is Mike McDaniel, who's was the head coach at the Miami Dolphins. He wasn't a very good head coach. The word I get out of Miami is because he didn't have that alpha nature to him that Robert Saleh has. But to bring him in as an offensive coordinator would be perfect. I mean, and he would be great for Cam Ward because, his running scheme lends itself to gaining 3, 4, 5 yards a pop. He has a lot of outside zones, things like that make gaps appear in the defensive line, and you get positive yards, which keeps you even with the chains. That's important for a young quarterback. There's a ton of pre-snap motion and shifts, which isn't just confusing for defenses at times. It reveals what the coverage is to the young quarterback, and that's really important. There's a lot of short timing throws, West Coast concepts that Cam Ward would excel in, but there's also vertical explosiveness that he builds in when he has the receivers that can get downfield, and Cam Ward loves throwing the ball deep. I mean, you look at everything that Mike McDaniel does, and I think it would dovetail perfectly with what Cam Ward needs to excel based on what we've identified his skill set to be. Now, you go the opposite direction. You could pick up somebody like Arthur Smith, who's already had a run in Tennessee. Arthur Smith is kind of the opposite, man. He's a former offensive lineman himself, and it's run first, heavy personnel, lots of tight ends, ground and pound, and then throw a lot of play action pass off of that. So he protects quarterbacks when he's at his best by running the ball. And then lots of play actions and rollouts and things like that off of the run. Now, it's nice to say you have to be able to do it and have the personnel, but if you've got a defensive coach in Robert Saleh who understands the value of an offense that complements the defense. Well, Arthur Smith's style is perfect for that.
So, Trevor, you really got me thinking with that answer, because you just named two successful offensive minds, but they have different ways of going about it. How much of it needs to match Cam Ward's already his strengths and what he knows about running an offense? In other words, last year's offense. And how much does that not matter as long as you've got a system that can be effective?
Willie, I think for the short term, it needs to match what Cam Ward can do for his development. Long term, it needs to be something that Cam Ward can grow into. In other words, something like Cliff Kingsbury's offense, for example, would be great in the short term, but I think long term it would have a lower ceiling. Kingsbury, who most recently was, coaching Jaden Daniels at Washington, and he coached him to a magnificent rookie season. It's sort of an NFL style version of the air raid, where it's almost all shotgun. It's very up tempo. The reads for the quarterback are typically 2 or 3 reads, and that's it. And they make up for some plays that aren't very good against a particular defense by running a lot of plays. And that's how they do it. Well, that's nice until the defense starts to figure out what you're doing. Then what do? And there's not a whole lot of directions to go from there. And so that's why I think you've got short-term and long-term. And I think either of the styles of the coordinators I mentioned, Mike McDaniel or Arthur Smith, would be really good for Ward to flourish in. I think from a Saleh standpoint, he understands, I'm sure, that his success will ride on the success of the quarterback position, because his failure with the Jets was a failure of the quarterback position. I don't think it was his fault, but, protection wasn't good. Lots of things broke down there in New York. But I think that, he knows that Cam Ward has to be successful or he's going to get fired. And so, I think he'll bring in a guy that doesn't overcomplicate it for Ward, but has enough in the playbook to be able to carry Ward into the future and not just give him 1 or 2 good seasons until defenses figure him out.
Trevor, before we let you go, we have to ask you about last night's game. Indiana caps off an incredible year, undefeated, etc. It does look like this is where college sports are going, where it's not all going to be about the pedigree of the program. It's just how have you built your roster, etc. But still, I can't help myself in just thinking what a great Cinderella story. It still resonates that way with me.
It's the losingest program in college football history up until last year, and all of a sudden they go 16-0 and win the national championship. It's crazy stuff. But when you look at the template that Curt Cignetti used, it's not just NIL and bringing in guys. You have to bring in the right guys. A lot of his top performers did not come from Power 4 conferences, and his quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, came from a Cal team that just wasn't very good. And all of a sudden those guys are superstars, right? Well, the bigger reason is that the guys he brought in, rather than being the super highest talent from a 4 or 5-star standpoint, they were the guys that were the best fits for his schemes and for his culture. Culture is most important in Indiana, because you have to love the grind of preparing. You have to love running stadium steps in the off season. I don't mean you're willing to do it. I mean, you love everything about it, because that's the kind of guy that you can coach hard, that you can develop. If you're one of those prima donnas who never learned how to work hard because mommy and daddy intimidated your youth football coaches, you can't play for a coach like Cignetti. But that culture is what was the most important factor. So, yeah, he brought in the right guys. They had NIL available. We saw all that. But it's who you bring in from a culture standpoint that'll really decide whether or not you are whether you're just a good, talented bunch of players, or whether you mesh together and become a great team.
Trevor Matich has been our guest on D-Mates. Ving and the Donnie, who joins us every Tuesday, and he is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Adam.
615-737-1025. A quick news nugget from Tom Pelissero on Mike McDaniel, because I know a lot of you are interested in Mike McDaniel right now. From Tom Pelissero, quote, former Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel informed the Browns he is withdrawing from their head coaching search ahead of a scheduled in-person interview Wednesday, per sources. McDaniel, who is still a candidate for the Ravens and Raiders head coaching vacancies, is interviewing for the Chargers offensive coordinator job today. He has multiple OC offers and could have a new home soon, end quote. So something on Mike McDaniel for all of you. 615-737-1025. All right. Derek started the show coming in hot on Indiana. He's poo-pooing the Cinderella story just a little bit. So I want Derek to continue what he was starting at the beginning of the show, and we'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are live at Bridgestone Arena. David James is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution or some type of goal to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But I got some good news, because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and the team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
I first want to give all the glory to God. And I mean, there's no better group of guys I want to do it with. It's the most special moment of my life. There's such a great group of guys. I love you guys. Great job. Let's go.
That's Fernando Mendoza after winning the national title.
Does he always talk that fast?
Like
when he's giving the play out in the huddle.
He's
Does he
excited.
talk that fast?
I don't know.
He's excited. He had some other
And
fabulous
does he have that
quotes.
excitement call on the play every time?
At one point during one of these on-field interviews, I heard Robbie and Joe play it this morning. He said the F word and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, flippin'." Again, Fernando Mendoza, I wonder about him in Las Vegas. He's probably going to be drafted #1 overall by the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm wondering about Fernando Mendoza, if he's going to go on the bender to end all benders once he's in Sin City. We'll find out soon enough. But Indiana caps off an incredible season, 27-21 win against Miami in the CFP National Championship game. Move over 1894 Yale Bulldogs. You've got some company at 16-0. But Derek, you came in hot when the show started about Indiana. I want to let you go, man. Go for it.
Well, I mean, LSU was 15-0. And they were
That's
scoring,
one less than 16.
But still, they were 15-0. If they would have played the 16th game, they would have been 16-0. If they had played the 17th game, they would have been 17-0. That's just how good that team was, offensively and defensively. So, again, congratulations to Hoosier Nation. They brought a championship, another championship to the Big Ten. That's 3 in a row. Michigan, but we got 3 in a row. Big Ten got 3 in a row.
You can live with Indiana.
I can live with it. I can live with Indiana.
You can live with
Michigan,
Indiana.
but Indiana, nice way to go, Indiana. Kurt Signetti, one of the best coaches out there as we speak. But people, this is not like this one of a once in a lifetime type of story. We're going to start seeing this more and more and more.
But they were the first to do it.
It's the first of its kind. Would you admit that?
The first of its kind as far as what?
The new.
What, the Washington Huskies, when they won the championship, I think, 20, whatever it was, early 2000, they hadn't won a championship before that, I don't think.
But that was a far different era than the one we're living in right now.
And it was harder to do that then.
Washington had been to a ton of Rose Bowls. Warren Moon, they
I
had
get
a
that.
lot of great teams.
I get that, but
Indiana
they
was
had never
the doormat.
But Indiana has some good seasons in there somewhere.
When did they have a good season?
When I was playing, they were okay. They weren't great. They weren't great. They was okay.
National championship.
Listen, what we're trying to convince ourselves, and we do this all the time, and everybody's at fault at this. It's this
prisoner of the moment.
Prisoner of the moment, and nothing like, goodness gracious, this is the greatest story since Disney World started, when they opened their doors and when sliced bread finally hit the stores and people are lining up to get sliced bread. It's not that. It's a good story. Here's why this story is going to be forgotten so quickly. Because the new era of NIL and transfers, this story right here will be forgotten quickly. But
they'll always be the first. They'll be the Moneyball kind of thing.
But not really, because
it was because of the game changing. They figured it out before anybody else.
What they didn't figure it out before everybody else. They just didn't. They just had a team that, because it's not like Indiana last year was a doormat. Indiana was a good team.
A very good team.
A very good team. They made college football playoff.
But before that, they were the losingest program ever.
When your program runs back to 18, whatever else, I mean, you may end up being the losingest team in college football.
But here's why I disagree.
Okay.
That it is a Cinderella story that should be celebrated
A
on
Cinderella?
that level.
How? How is it a Cinderella?
Because of the players they had on the roster. They did not have the way national championships have always been won in college football for the last 50, 75 years. You get the 5-star recruits. You get the best of the best. You win a game of numbers. Your second stringer is better than Indiana's second stringer or Vanderbilt's second stringer. And those teams don't have a chance to win. That's how rosters was always built. Everything was changed and jumbled a couple of years ago when NIL happened. And Indiana, and to a lesser extent Vanderbilt, were able to figure out how to use this to your advantage. and find a mix of players that weren't 5-star players and may not be great NFL players, but can win a national championship. That is an incredible, incredible accomplishment that I'm not saying just for this year, because you're right, they were good last year, but it's that guy. Like, that coach started off by saying, my guys at James Madison.
He's been doing this forever.
I know. Well, not forever.
Well, he did it at
But
James
he
Madison.
hasn't been winning in the Big Ten. What he figured out was, which I don't think people would have believed him 10 or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, to say, my guys at James Madison, if I take the right guys with me, we can win in the Big Ten. But that was where it started. Just like Clark Lee figured out that I can take these guys from New Mexico State and win in the SEC. That sounds preposterous on the surface, but that's how they did it, because it was the right guys, the hungry guys, like Trevor said, that had a chip on their shoulder, were willing to work hard, and you had the right guys. That is still, to me, a phenomenal, phenomenal sports story, even though it's happening in a lot of college sports right now. But it's hard in football because there's more guys involved. It is happening in basketball and baseball as well, for sure.
Here's one thing we can all agree on. I win, Google me, is now an all-time quote. It was already an all-time quote. But now that Curt Cignetti has gone 16-0 and won the national championship at Indiana in football, I should clarify, in football, I win, Google me, enters the pantheon of the greatest sports quotes ever uttered.
When did he first say that? When was
I assume it was when he was
last year.
It
was last season.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of last season.
When was it though? I want to see the clip because I love it, because that guy is amazing. That guy's amazing.
Listen, what Cignetti is showing, it's not necessarily.
It was when he was introduced by Indiana.
It's not necessarily because Cignetti has been a winner everywhere he has basically went.
But winning at JMU is different than winning at Indiana.
What I'm saying is his formula, just like the formula with Nick Saban, it's the same type formula, just like the formula with Kirby Smart, same type formula. The formula that these three guys ran, meaning Nick, it works. You find the right players for your program.
But Kirby Smart and Nick Saban had the best recruits in the country.
But what I'm saying is that even when
5 stars, 4 stars, everywhere,
even when maybe they didn't have the quote unquote best team, they found a way to make it work. Nick Saban found a way to make it work. Kirby Smart found a way to make it work, whether he had a quarterback or not. He's fine. This year, he really didn't have a elite quarterback, but he still made it work over the last 2 seasons because of his program and how he runs his program. Curt Cignetti runs the same type program. So,
but you're saying that's like the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Cignetti could go
Georgia
anywhere.
And Alabama are the Yankees and the Dodgers. Indiana is the Tampa Bay Rays.
But Cignetti can go anywhere and end up winning. Why? Not necessarily because it's because of his system and how he runs his system and how disciplined he is in his system.
Absolutely.
And how disciplined you got to be playing within his system. So it's more so, it's not like we haven't seen this before. This is Saban's blueprint. Everything that he does is a carbon copy of Nick Saban. To scoring on the sideline and not celebrating, to having that mean look on his face, it is a carbon copy of Nick Saban. But it's great.
Could Nick Saban have won a national championship at a place like Indiana, the equivalent?
Yep, absolutely. Nick Saban could have.
But
Nick Saban in today's NIL, yes. In last year, in 4 years ago, no.
I don't doubt you, but the fact that Cignetti did it is.
I'm not taking that away from him. I'm not taking that away from him.
With guys, I mean, the basic.
These are some good players.
5-star recruits.
But these are
5-star recruits.
Here's the thing, people, and this is where the numbers, like people, let's move away from the 5-star, because eventually those guys start. A 5-star become a 2-star. Or 1-star become a 5-star after a couple years.
Right.
He's got some veteran guys on his team, some guys that are matured a little bit. Not that he has an old team, but those guys that once came in as 2-stars, he's coached them up. Whether it be at JMU, or now Indiana. He's coached those 1 or 2-star, let's just say 2-star guys, because I'm sure he probably didn't have too many 1-stars.
Yeah,
maybe.
But he deserves
2 to
credit
3.
for being the first to do it. That's why it's incredible.
But he's taken that team and he's been able to win with it. His formula, whatever formula he's running, it works everywhere he goes, especially now. In yesterday's football, it would have been a little bit tougher to sort of do this without the 5-star. They would have won games, yeah. But in today's football, because now you can pay individuals, I can go get a quarterback who's been who's been quarterbacking a bad team for the last 2 or 3 years. I can go get him now because what? He's mature, he's developed. He come to my team, I got some guys that can play. Now all of a sudden we're going to be in a situation like Cignetti was in. He went from one quarterback, older quarterback, to another veteran quarterback. And that is what college teams are going to start doing now. All it is, freshmen playing no. They're going to start wanting veteran type quarterbacks, 3rd and 4th year quarterbacks to be underneath center for them, because that's going to give them in their mind a better option to win a national championship.
Quickly, some reaction. One texter says, Indiana winning the national championship in football is the same feat as if Butler or Wichita State won an NCAA basketball tournament. To be fair, Butler almost did win an NCAA basketball tournament. I don't mind
Duke.
that they didn't win in 2010. And then one texter says, D-Mace, you're starting to sound like you're hating on IU, Mr. Spartan.
No, I'm not hating. Again, just because people, I've been rooting for Indiana. It's a really good story. But I'm not going to sit here and say that this is the greatest college story that I've ever watched or seen. No, I'm not going to. It's one of them. But we are a creature of the moment. We all want to get in and
they're going to make a movie about it.
They're going to make a movie
about it.
In 3 years, they will forget about Cignetti because somebody else will do it.
Not until the movie comes out. Movie's going to come out.
All right.
Who plays Cignetti in the movie?
That's a good question. We don't have time to answer it now. 615-737-1025. Predators GM Barry Trotz is here. He'll join us coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes. Barry Trotz, Predators GM, is here with us live inside Bridgestone Arena. The Predators open up another homestand tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 1025 The Game. Hi, Barry. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just looking around at what expensive snacks that D. Mace left this week because he keeps leaving expensive
the good stuff.
He's got the goodies. Yeah.
He brings
High
the good
end.
stuff. And Barry, we've been talking, of course, pretty much all show long on the Titans hiring Robert Saleh as their next head coach. You know a thing or two about interviewing to be a head coach, so perhaps you could shed some insight. I know the sports are different, but just how intense, how what's the word I'm looking for here? Detailed those head coaching interviews can be.
Yeah, you've been on both sides of it. You've been on the interviewer and the interviewee.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the feel and what you're looking for in terms of personality, what you're looking for in terms of the style of play. I know that in some interviews, if you don't have much of a resume, you've got to probably come at, if I was the GM, you'd have to come at me a little different than if you were someone who has been in the league a long time and you have a long track record and I know a lot about you. I've talked to some young coaches who are just trying to get out there. I try to tell them to be very, very detailed in terms of what their vision of how they want to play, why they want to play that way, based on the personnel. Know the personnel within the organizations very, very well because you have to. I think the good coaches adjust their systematic play, style of play to the personnel that is available to them, and also a little bit trying to match the vision of the general manager as well. I think that's really important.
When you interviewed with David Poile, it was unique way back. He knew you for a long time, right? Because you were in the organization already that he had been with. But when you interviewed with him for the Predators, what was your approach? Because you, at that time, like you were saying, you had never been a head coach in the NHL.
Well, it was funny. I could tell you it's probably the most untraditional interview I've ever had and probably ever will have. Fortunately, I was living in Portland, Maine at the time. David was in Washington, and obviously with the hiring process coming in Nashville, it was a year ahead. So the job was to entail some pro scouting for the most part, Buck Showalter sort of deal way back when, and then coming to an expansion franchise in a non-traditional market. And unfortunately, we had a mutual death in our relationship with owner of the Baltimore Skipjacks. Portland Pirates was Tom Ebright was the owner, and we were heading to the Hershey area where he was going to be buried. And so David said, well, let's meet there, and then you can come back with me, and I want to interview you. So basically, I drove up from Maine, and he drove up from the Washington area. We got there, and I jumped in with him in the car after the funeral, and Paul Gardner was with me, came from Portland, and he jumped in with Elizabeth Boyle and some other people in another vehicle, and basically David interviewed me in the vehicle the whole time. It was probably the best thing for me because it was sitting there just sort of driving, relaxing, and having conversation about what David's vision was, what my vision would be, how I would adjust, all that. So I think there was for me personally, that was the best situation I could be in. Now, when I went to Washington, it was a little bit more structured, if you will, where I had to present how I would fix the Washington Capitals.
Yep.
And
you had done it for a long time here at this point. You were much more known quantity at that point.
Exactly. So my approach was obviously a little different. I think as I went to the Islanders, it was a little different. I just won a Stanley Cup and was walking away a little bit from that. And, Lou Lamoriello got a hold of me and said, I'd like you to come to the Islanders and, same thing. What do you think we have to do to fix this? And told him what I thought, and I think in both places we did a pretty good job of fixing most of everything that we set out to do.
Barry, an impressive week for the team last week. You play 3 of the Western Conference's top teams. You beat Edmonton in overtime. You hand Colorado its first regulation loss on home ice this season. A tough one in Vegas to end the trip. But overall, how would you evaluate your team's performance against 3 of the West's top teams last week?
I would have to say I would give them probably a good B, maybe a B plus, because you go into Edmonton. We've never had much success with Edmonton, at least in the last couple of years. And I thought our team played really well. The difference maker has been the goaltending. Saros has been outstanding. I look at the goals against and all that, but he's made key saves when the game is tilting. It's tilting for the opposition. It's maybe on the brink of us losing the hockey game, and he's been able to make that key save. Like Grant Fury used to always say, it's not how many you save, but when you make the big save, and he's been doing that for us. I thought in all those games. So getting a big win in Edmonton, I think that was really, really key. And then going into Colorado and doing it the way we did, you could see. I thought I loved our start. I loved our first period. The second period, it was starting to tilt for us, and realistically, I thought if Saros wasn't as good as he was, it could have been 5-2 for Colorado. But we come out of the second period and it's 4-2 to us because he's made those big saves. We're come down, we take advantage of some of those, their mistakes, and we're up, and then we're able to hang on and finish the job. So I did know that Vegas game was a real tough one. So looking at the week, I was saying, if we ever get 2 out of 3, that'd be a very good week, and it was. And the back-to-back Colorado, Vegas, I knew that one was going to be very, very tough.
We've seen some trades in the NHL over the past couple of days. Some notable players: Rasmus Anderson traded from Colorado to Vegas. Kiefer Sherwood, former Predators player, traded from Vancouver to San Jose for basically 2 second-round picks. And I'll admit, Barry, when I saw that trade yesterday, my first thought was, I wonder if the Predators could get something like that for Michael Bunting. So I'm curious, how much do other trades influence your thinking regarding your players and the values you have assigned to them?
Yeah, no, I think it gives you more clarity. I think the biggest difference, obviously, with Woody's contract, Woody's a 1.5 cap, so that especially teams that's big value for teams. No matter what, cash is king, and cap is king. And he had a really good year. It's in 2 things. It give you a little bit of clarity where the market stands, gives you a little bit of clarity where San Jose stands. Obviously, they're a team that looks like they're serious about making a run at getting in the playoffs. So that was some clarity, and obviously giving up 2 first-round picks for Kiefer, it probably says that they're looking to sign him long-term.
Speaking of Michael Bunting, you do have some notable unrestricted free agents, pending unrestricted free agents. Bunting, Eric Holla, Michael McCarron. I believe Cole Smith is in that group as well. Have you engaged in any contract talks with those players' representatives?
I have not. For the most part, we have touched base with all the representatives in terms of where we are. We'll see where we are. Doesn't mean that we won't. It just means that we're in a little bit of a holding pattern, and I think that's accurate for where we are. Like, we're not in the playoffs, and it's accurate for where we need to go. We're going to have to get a little bit younger and see some of our younger guys in the next couple of years here.
Speaking of young players, the decision was made this morning to send Reed Schaefer back down. You could probably clarify a lot what that means, because I think a lot of fans, they've seen him have some big moments, but at the same time, he could probably still do some good things down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the process. 2 things that happened. We got a couple guys back. We got Marchessault and we got Weisblatt healthy again. So they missed some time. They've got to get back in. We've got to get them up to speed a little bit. Best time always at home game, because home games you have last change. You control the matchups a little bit. Reed Schaefer, just like any young player, has had his his great moments, and he's had the moments where he's hasn't got as much ice time, those type of things. So when talking with Bruno, talking with management, getting these players up to speed, it made sense to send a young player who might be sitting out. I'd rather have, if Shafe's going to be the healthy scratch, I'd rather him play in Milwaukee. We can call him up, tomorrow if we need to. But if we're going to put, Marchie back in, which he needs to get back in there, he can be an important piece for us, as well as Ozzy. So we got to get them up to speed. There's an opportunity with these 3 home games to do that. And we know it gives us flexibility, not only if we see someone on the waiver wire, if there's a possible trade that we can get involved with, that gives us that one roster spot that we could use. And then with Adam Wilsby being out, we only have 6 defensemen. So that gives us the flexibility to go get someone to be our 7th defenseman. If something were to happen tonight, now Adam's not able to go on Thursday, then we're going to have to call someone up. So it gives us lots of the most flexibility to do a number of things. And Reed is on our 4th line, and identity line is really important. But I think Ozzy can do that role, or Marchie can jump in that role if we need to, and we can fill that space. Bruno can put Woody there, Yost. We have a lot of different options. So I don't think it's a big drop off, even though I think you got a sense of Reed's ability. Big guy, can skate. I think he makes that line really, really heavy, which is an advantage, especially against teams that have a lot of big defense or play that heavy game. So, Reed's going to be an important piece for us for a long time.
Let's talk about Marcia. So as you mentioned, that was the classic catch the moving train, right? Back into a back-to-back, really tough situation to jump in on. He had a couple of good shifts in there, I thought, in the second period. But what's your outlook for him now that you've seen it? Is he feeling better than he was? I know there's a couple times he started back up, but he never seemed quite right since that first injury. So what's your vision of what you hope to get from him?
I think I felt bad for Marchie because we're on a roll. We have a big win in Colorado. The plan was to have him, if he felt healthy, and he does, to go into that Vegas game. We didn't feel it was right to put him in those back-to-back. So he was going into that Vegas game. He was going into the Lions Den, if you will, especially after we won and it's back-to-back. And we've had good success lately, and he's jumped in there, and then all of a sudden you lose, and everybody wants to go, well, it's not at all. It's just we didn't have anything in the gas tank, and he's trying to catch a moving train. He's missed a whole month, and same with Ozzy. They both missed some time here, so we've got to get them back. We've been very fortunate that we haven't sustained any more injuries other than those 2 guys that were out. We were running with 7 defensemen, or running basically with 13 forwards for the last little while here. So we've been fortunate we haven't been hit with the injury bug, and knock on wood, we can continue like that. But we're going to need all hands on deck. It's going to get hard, and all these teams need the points. Buffalo's in there. They need these points just as much as we do. Ottawa's in the same spot we are for the most part. Utah is a team that we're trying to catch. So every game is very important, and we're going to need all hands on deck. And our depth is not where it needs to be yet. We're still continuing to do work with that and develop our players. But it also gives us some opportunity if something does happen that we can get to, LaRue or Kemmel, a Mollendijk, for instance. Those are the players that we're going to have to see at some point here, and we're gonna need it. It's just the depth of the league right now.
Stamkos, of course, has been really commended for how he's adapted his game, and he's had a great run of success now for 25 games or something. Is it the same challenge for Marcia? So you've mentioned a lot of times, he's played one way. He's played with teams that have been really good with certain types of guys. Is it on him a little bit to adjust and adapt, similar to Stamkos?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I think every player has to adapt to their environment a little bit, or you won't have success. And that goes with Stammer. That goes with any new player that comes in a new situation. The one thing that when we got Marchie and Stammer, we tried to build. We talked about that top 9. The one area that I feel that I failed is that Marchie needs, he's one of the guys that hasn't played a lot with O'Reilly. he needs a guy like O'Reilly. You look at it in his past; he's played with guys like Eichel and people like that, are sort of carry the puck. They make plays. They're sort of the middle speed and all that. And he's a dog on the bone around the net. And that's the best part of his game, is that he's a small area around the net, hard area, playoff. That's why he was the playoff MVP, because he was going to those hard areas. He's producing, and we haven't been able to get him enough of those center ice touches so that he can get to those real tight areas to be productive. His first year, you look at his first year, he had a terrible start, getting used to a new environment. So did Stammer, so did a number of other guys. And then he started to take off, and I think he ended up with, my memory doesn't serve me, I think it's like 56 points. You look around the league, there's not a lot of guys that get 56 points. And you'll have to
in
check
a quote-unquote bad year, right?
On a bad year.
Yeah.
And so he can produce, and he hasn't lost that. He's just, I think, and unfortunately, I just don't have the center depth to go that deep. And they got some chemistry with Forsberg and Stamkos, and unfortunately, I think in some ways Marchie hasn't got started. He got injured, and he's gotten sort of the short straw right now. But you know what? He's competitive. The thing that makes him a really good player is the fact that he really wasn't never drafted. He wasn't expected to even make it, and all of a sudden he's had great success in a couple teams. He's been playoff MVP. He's won a Stanley Cup. So there's a lot of that. He still has terrific hands. He's still a hard guy in those tough areas. So we just got to get him in feeling it again, get him caught up, and then try to hopefully we get some chemistry with the right people. And I know he can produce. I keep talking about it. You get him with the right people, he's going to produce at a real high rate. That's why even when there's talks of me moving Marchie, if he goes to a team that has a couple people that are the right fit for him, he's going to get 30 goals every year, and he's still got a lot of good hockey on him.
You were right, by the way. It was 56 points last season.
That's
give yourself some credit there.
That's pretty
good recall. Good recall.
Before we let you go, Barry, Roman Josi scheduled to play in his 1,000th game later this week. You were there for game number 1.
Yep.
So you've seen basically the majority of Josi's career. Second star of the week this week in the NHL, played a huge role in the wins last week. I'm just curious what you've seen from him, because Willie and I have discussed this a lot. We're starting to see that Roman Josi, who was a perennial Norris Trophy contender, sort of peak out over the past few games.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. 1,000 games. He'll be really the first Predator to start his first game as a Predator in his 1,000th. I mean, you look at some of the great defensemen that have come through this organization, and he's going to be the first one. I'll tell you what, when you talk about Roman Josi, and you're right. Right now, I think he's playing as good as any defenseman in the National Hockey League, bar none. I mean, bar none. And he looks like he's 25 again. I think the some of the things that affected his game, the pots last year and all that. I think he's free of that. I think he's enjoying playing. He looks invigorated. He looks young. He's skating like as good as he's ever skated, and he's producing at an extremely high level. And you just look at our record when Roman Josi was not early in the season, when he was not with us. It was really him and Nick Hague were the guys missing from our D-corps. But Roman, when he's not in our lineup, our record is not very good.
3-7-2.
And thanks, Willie.
That's not good.
And when he's in our lineup, we are just a way better team. And I'm so proud of Roman as our captain. Not only as the player, his greatness is that we just take it for granted how great he is. But the person is even greater. You're not going to find a better person than Roman Josi. He's a really good captain for us. He's everything that a Nashville Predator draft should be on and off the ice. So I am so happy for him and his family. It'll be a special night. I'll even get emotional because he's one of my favorites.
Barry Trotz, Predators GM, has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Tuesday during hockey season. The Predators are back in action tonight against the Sabres right here at Bridgestone Arena. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5 The Game. Barry, as always, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game tonight.
Always a pleasure, guys. D. Mace is not keeping you're keeping the snacks to yourself now, is he?
He said he's got some donuts for you over here. High-end donuts. Gourmet donuts.
Oh, man. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to our interview with Barry here, and we'll get back into the Titans hiring of Robert Saleh. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5 The Game.
Anything you would do differently again as a head coach?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I do differently.
Top thing.
My top, one of the biggest things I do is I'm going to call. I'd like to call it. You know, I feel like you know, when you're immersed in the game as a play caller, I think it brings out the emotion in me that gets me excited and keeps me connected to all the players and keeps me connected to the game a little bit more. So yeah, it'd definitely that'd be the number one thing I would change.
That was new Titans head coach Robert Saleh on Josina Anderson's podcast earlier this football season. The one thing he says he's going to do this time around that he did not do in New York, he is going to call defensive plays as head coach.
Well, Denard Wilson, see ya.
Well, didn't we think that anyway?
I mean, not necessarily. You know, I didn't think that if he wasn't going to call the plays, I mean, defensively, then, you know, I think it would have been advantageous to keep Denard Wilson because I think Denard Wilson's a good coach. He just didn't have the personnel because a lot of guys were injured. And frankly, the team is, you know, they don't have top end talent yet, or they have guys that are developing into being players, but they're just not there at this moment. But I thought Denard did a good job considering what he had to work with, especially toward the end of the season. But if he's going to call plays, there's no need for Denard Wilson to be around.
By the way, I do want to credit our crack team for getting Hallelujah into that promo less than 3 hours after I said it. If that becomes a thing, I am taking full and total credit for that.
Make a shirt.
You have to make a shirt now.
I might have to make a shirt. I've told this story before, I think, on the air. When the Titans hired Mike Vrabel, I was still working for the Tennessee, and I was covering a game here at Bridgestone Arena. And when the news broke, I sent a message to one of our designers who designs the sports pages, and I said, I've got your headline, Ready, Willing, and Vrabel. And the next day, that was in the paper.
Ready,
willing, and Vrabel. So, Hallelujah, you can have it for free. You can have it for free. By the way, Derek, a lot of people on our text line are PO'd at you for your Indiana take.
I don't care. You think I care? Somebody pissed off at me. PO'd. Excuse me.
Hold on.
If you ain't my daughter, then I really don't care.
Okay. First of all,
my son.
Okay, Gino on our text line. By the way, Gino, you sent this yesterday at 5:06. The more and more this coaching search drags on, the less trust I have, if I have any, in the guy and then picking the right guy. Well, maybe you still feel that way, but I think, Gino, you were on the it's going to be Nagy, this whole thing is a sham train.
Yeah.
But Gino has texted in and said, let's see, I just lost it. He says, don't tell me Nick Saban can take any school and win in this NIL era. He lost to Michigan and retired when 80% of his players' first question about coming back was, how much are you paying me? You lost me on that. Saban won with a stockpile of 5 stars, or what D. Mace is calling the right guys. Talking like a true Sparty, bah humbug.
Listen, if y'all don't think Nick Saban, had he stayed at Michigan State, believe me, Michigan State would have won the national championship. And we were not recruiting 5 stars across the board. He took a program that was okay, and he made it even better. When he left, it was better after he left. When he got it, it wasn't good. When he left Michigan State, it was much better. He went to LSU, won a championship. Went to Alabama, won a championship. Nick Saban can win. He just didn't want to deal with the stuff that goes on. It's not like Nick Saban didn't think he could win. He just didn't want to have to deal with the money aspect of it. And, okay, that was his choice. He left. Some coaches, I mean, the basketball coach chose to do that from UConn. Was it UConn or Providence? Who was Providence coach? That he ended up retiring.
In basketball?
Yeah, in basketball. Was it Providence? Yeah. Oh, my goodness. He ended up retiring. I believe it was Providence. It wasn't UConn because no, it wasn't UConn. It was a Big East coach. He decided to retire early because it was the whole NIL and all this other stuff. He just got out of it. It wasn't for him no more. But that doesn't mean and the transfer portal and all that other stuff. So, but again, Indiana, much respect. They went in there and they played a hard-fought game against a really good opponent, and they made one more play than Miami did.
And
they deserved to win that game. They deserved to be in the national championship. They deserved it last year, but they just wasn't good enough at the time.
And to Indiana's credit, all season long, it was, well, wait until they have to blank. Wait until they have to go on the road and play Oregon, for example. Wait until they have to play Ohio State. Wait until they have to play Alabama. Wait until they have to play so on and so forth. And they completed all of those challenges. So congratulations to Indiana. By the way, for you baseball fans out there, specifically you Braves fans, also congratulations to Andrew Jones, who has been inducted into or nominated into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
It's Andrew. It's Andrew Jones.
I'm sorry. Andrew. See, now Braves fans are going to be pissed at me. Andrew Jones. Congratulations to Andrew Jones on being nominated to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Carlos Beltran as well. So there you go, Braves fans. I'm sorry I mispronounced Andrew Jones's name. I haven't.
It does spell. It's spelled weird. So you have a pass from that.
It is, yes. And by the way, Derek,
Yes.
people were helping us out here. You were referring to Jay Wright at
Yeah,
Villanova.
Jay Wright,
at
Villanova. I knew it was a Big East school. But Jay Wright, he was just like, I'm done because I don't want to have to deal with what comes along with this new environment of college sports, period.
A lot of coaches did that as well. A lot of coaches in college basketball, specifically Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Tony Bennett. Jay Wright is not alone. There were a lot of high-profile coaches who decided to say, I don't want to play in this sandbox. John on our text line says, Mike McDaniel backed out of the Cleveland head coaching job. Could he be the Titans offensive coordinator? Another texter asked us who we would want to be, who we want as the Titans offensive coordinator. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer. I don't know these guys well enough to know whose scheme would best complement Cam Ward. I know a lot of you want Mike McDaniel, who, as the texter points out, has reportedly backed out of another in-person interview with the Cleveland Browns. So he's still out there. I don't know if it's McDaniel or Brian Daboll or Cliff Kingsbury or even Matt Nagy. I don't know. I don't know their offensive philosophies well enough to sit here and say, I think that so-and-so would be the best offensive coordinator. That would be a better question for Derek.
I like Mike McDaniel. I do. I think he's a really good play caller. I think he's very creative. He's just not a head coach. I think even if he goes, say if he comes here to Nashville and does a great job, if I'm an owner, I'm still not hiring him. I'm just not. To me, he's a career coordinator, just like McDaniel. McDaniel had 3 or 4 shots. He is McDaniel.
Josh McDaniels.
Is
and
Mike McDaniels are the same people.
Yes.
Excellent play callers, but they're not head coaches.
Kind of hard to keep those.
Yeah, too.
I see what you're saying.
But they're just not head coaches.
Yes, Josh McDaniels was not a good head coach in the NFL.
And I don't think, and Mike McDaniel, I think he's the same. Hell of a play caller, creative mind, knows offenses, but he's not a head coach. So I think it would be good for the Titans. I think it would be advantageous for the organization to bring a guy in like Mike McDaniel to work with Cam Ward, and you just hope that you're able to keep him longer than 1 year. Again, I'm not sure if he will ever get another serious look at a head coaching job. But when you talk about offensive coordinators, he's a damn good one. He really is. So you marry him with Saleh. I don't think that the fan base would be disappointed. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I don't know enough about these guys yet. I will do my research. I will lean on people like Derek who know a lot more about this than I do. One texter says that Dale Murphy and Don Mattingly should have made the Hall of Fame before Andrew Jones. Well, that's a better question for Willie.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about it. But here's my general feeling on the hiring of Robert Saleh. The record in New York wasn't great. 20-36, a 357 winning percentage. Not good. I don't know enough about the Jets to know how much of that was his fault, but he is the head coach. He was the head coach, I should say. He wears it. But I think it's okay to be non-committal on how you feel about the hiring of Robert Saleh. If you right now, at least, it's just happened. So if you don't like it, that's fine. If you like it, that's fine. I would say that the majority of, I would say that the reaction, Derek, has been fairly split today. We have callers and texters who have said, "Great hire, leader of men, good job, Titans." We've had other texters say, "Terrible hire, terrible coach," all of these things. I don't know enough about Robert Saleh right now. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next several months, as we are going to be digging into Robert Saleh, the pros, the cons, all of those things. There's a big hole in his evaluation, which is the offensive coordinator. Until we know who that is, we have an incomplete picture of how this is going to work.
Yeah, and that's going to be, the most important hire is who is tasked at developing your quarterback, because you're not going to do it, Saleh. You're not an offensive guy. You're a defensive guy. And so whoever you bring in has to, develop Cam and put an offense in place. And Trevor says something. He said something true, that you don't want to hire a GM for now. I mean, not a GM, but offensive coordinator for now. Meaning the offense type. You want to make sure whatever offense you put Cam in now, that he's able in some variations to continue to run that same type of philosophy or offense. You don't want to continue to, put him in the offense. That offensive coordinator gets, hired to be, whatever, head coach. And then now you're bringing in somebody that has a totally different offense. You can only do that so many times. And you've already did it twice. You don't need to do it no more. So whatever offense you put Cam in now, it needs to be an offense that you are able to adjust and add to, but not go completely out of the box. Continue to do things that he does well, and then you start to implement more and more.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your reaction on the Titans hiring Robert Saleh. Last I checked, it's still not official. So no announcement from the Titans, so we don't have any idea when Robert Saleh will introduce or be introduced to all of us. By the way, I'm looking at Jim Wyatt's most recent tweet, which was from 21 hours ago. The Titans have completed interviews with Matt Nagy, Robert Saleh as finalists for head coach job. So until I see it from Jim Wyatt, it's not official, but we all know it's coming. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction and wrap up the show. Coming up next, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. We are live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will take on the Sabres at 7 o'clock. David James is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
If you've been injured in a motorcycle accident, call Law Tigers. Go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible or nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve, and they don't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers also is powered by Freeman and Fuson. You can find them in Nashville, located at 212 621st Ave South in Nashville, Tennessee. And also, don't you forget, go to thepredadorsbike.com to enter to win a custom Nashville Predators Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team. So all your favorite players, they're going to be on that motorcycle, courtesy of Law Tigers and Music City Indian. Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Oh, now I hear myself out there. Hello,
Ah.
everybody at Bridgestone Arena.
Hello,
Welcome
everybody.
in. Have a wonderful time at the game tonight. Predators, thank you. Thank you, Max. You know, Max lives up to the nickname High Maintenance Hers because he comes in here and he's making requests and he calls us slobs.
Hey, he gave me a card and a T-shirt,
And
so
then
I like Max.
and then he told you that he only did that so he could ask something of you, basically. So it was an empty gesture, I would say. An empty
He's just
gesture.
bartering, that's all.
Anyway, Predators versus Sabres coming up at 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock pregame with Max at the top of the hour as the Predators open up another homestand. Caleb on our text line reacting to the hiring of Robert Saleh and his potential offensive coordinators says people are hilarious with the no to McDaniel because he will get hired away. What do people not get about that being a positive thing? Sure, it would mean another coordinator, but it would also mean that the offense was probably above average.
Yeah, and you know, from what has gotten out, they liked the answer that he gave about, you know, losing an OC and who would be the next person in line or what is your plan.
Yes.
It seemed like they liked his plan. So I don't think they're looking at it as a bad thing, meaning the Titans, of course, if your offense is doing well, you want to be able to retain your offense coordinator. But in today's football, if you are a sought after or established offensive mind or defensive mind, and you're coming off of a good season or a great season, then your name is going to show up the next following year as far as head candidates to be a head coach. So it may happen. I hope it doesn't, not because I hope this offense doesn't do well. I hope this offense does really well, but I want Cam to have the luxury that a Tom Brady had, or a Peyton Manning had, or a Drew Brees, being linked. And I'm talking about elite quarterbacks being linked with the same coordinator for a long period of time.
Well, yeah, you're talking Josh McDaniels
Yes, exactly.
in the previous segment. Josh McDaniels, and I'm emphasizing that because it's Mike McDaniel, singular, Josh McDaniels, plural. Josh McDaniels is not going to be a head coach in the NFL again. He's had a couple of cracks at it. Neither went well. So you can feel fairly confident, I would say, that Josh McDaniels and Drake May are going to be a tandem for a long time. And
Absolutely.
I understand the appeal of that. I mean, the 49ers just went through this with Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh gets fired by the New York Jets. He goes back to the San Francisco 49ers for one season to be the defensive coordinator. And I'm sure there were Niners fans who said the same thing. Why would you bring back Robert Saleh? He's just going to leave in a year from now when he becomes a head coaching candidate again. And Robert Saleh really did rehab his image in San Francisco. He
Quickly.
he led a defense that finished 13th in the NFL in points allowed per game, despite missing Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Mikel Williams. They all missed 33 games combined, and he did one hell of a job. I know it did not go well this past weekend against Seattle, but it did feel like they were running on fumes at that point.
He had gotten the most out of them he could.
Yeah. He did exactly what he needed to do for himself. He rehabbed his image. He went back to a comfortable situation, helped the Niners go 12-5, had a defense that overperformed, and now he's a head coach. He's got that shine again. So I'm not upset about the idea of, hey, if Mike McDaniel chooses to come to Tennessee, he may only be here for 1 year because if he gets the most out of Cam Ward, then he's going to get a head coaching job. Well, good. That reflects well on the Titans organization. As Caleb said on the text, it means that McDaniel in this scenario got the most out of Cam Ward, and that's what we all want if you're a Titans fan, right?
Yeah, that's what you want. And I think they, again, going back to, because I think people are worried about, well, if they hire Mike McDaniel, he's only going to be here a year. Or if they hire, say whatever genius offensive coordinator out there, oh, he's going to be, gone in a year. And I think that's why the organization wanted to hear what Robert Saleh had to say, because the same thing happened to them, 8 years ago, somewhere around there, when Matt LaFleur, left after 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think the replacement, did a fabulous job. They were still able to win because they had the best running back in the National Football League, and their defense was stout, and they had a veteran quarterback. But the offense wasn't creative once LaFleur left, and I think they don't want to go through that again.
One texter says, get a twice-fired head coach as a DC or OC. They ain't going anywhere, LOL. One texter says, Titans hiring Saleh, who has not won more than 7 games in the season, even with the lowly Jets. Cam will continue to state in press conferences. We ask. And Ryan in Florida says, I want to see our head coach at a Preds game with a catfish. Barry Trotz did tell us off air.
Uh-huh.
He got to meet Robert Saleh a couple of times when he was coaching the Islanders and Saleh was coaching the Jets. And he liked what he saw.
All right.
So take it for what
They
it's
can
worth.
link up again.
I can imagine Robert Saleh coming to a Preds game at some point. And speaking of the Preds, they are coming up next. They take on the Buffalo Sabres to open up another homestand. Puck drop at 7. Pregame starts at the top of the hour with our friend Max High Maintenance Hers, who's shaking hands and kissing babies right now. They don't know. They don't know the real Max Hers.
No.
We know the real Max
Yes.
Hers. He's the politician Max Hers right now. But that'll do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow for continued coverage of Robert Saleh being hired as the Titans head coach. Maybe it will be official by then. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we will continue the conversation. Take your reaction. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton Withrow will join us. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you leave. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you tomorrow. We're back in the studio at 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Peace.